Bethesda.
Oh, cool.
In John chapter 5, it mentions that there was a sheep's gate. Not a cheapskate, a sheep's gate. And this is where probably they brought the sheep in from Bethlehem to be washed, to be prepared, because just when we go out the gate of this complex, just on the other side, literally from here, about 300 feet, is the Temple Mount where they took the sacrifices and offered them up to the Lord. The temple was literally 2 minutes, 3 minutes walk from here. Now, in this site down here, there's a whole conglomeration of archaeology, including a Greek temple to the god of medicine. You'll see it here, a temple, pagan temple, a Greek one here, down. We've got a Byzantine church, a basilica style, a Crusader period chapel, and down in the end there, if you want to go and have a look after, there's a dam, because they used to bring in the waters from 5 different sources outside of the city. Jerusalem did have one source. By the way, do you remember I told you yesterday or the day before that some Orthodox Jews believe the Temple Mount, this area here, could well be the Garden of Eden? And someone asked me why. And I think I came up with the answer this morning. I was going through my Bible reading in Genesis 2, God's creation, and it says that from the Garden of Eden, there was a river that went out and it broke into 4 different angles. And those 4 rivers that came from that river, one of them is called the Gihon. Gihon. The main source of water in Jerusalem is called the Gihon Spring. So that's probably why they believe it's here. And it was at the Gihon Spring that Solomon was anointed by Zadok to be the king. Okay, back to here. So you have this conglomeration, and under the ground here are 2 porticos. One actually is where all those trees are, under the ground. The other one is down here, over here. Do you remember when we were looking down at the model yesterday? I said the 2 square roof pools were the pools of Bethesda. So they were down here. What happened at the story? Briefly. It's John chapter 5. There was a man who had been lame. Anyone remember how many years? 38 years.
Yes.
And there was all kinds of impotent, lame, sick people here. This was a sick place.
Yeah.
And it was. It's where the sick people... Hey, I'm not trying to... I literally mean that.
Yeah,
They were here for a positive reason.
Yeah.
What was it? To be healed.
Yes.
There was a chance that they could get healed, because it says every so often, it doesn't say how often, but it says the angel came and stirred up the water, and whosoever was first into the water after the stirring was healed. So into that arena walks the Son of David. Now remember, probably for the 1,000 years leading up to Jesus, the blind and the lame were looked upon as a curse. I touched on that yesterday, remember? David's soul hated the blind and the lame. Jesus comes and he doesn't say, do you want to be healed? What does he say?
Be healed.
No, he says, do you want to be made whole? And there's a difference. Because you can get healed, you can go back to city. You could be healed by a witch doctor in Africa. You can be healed and it won't change your life. So I think we should ask the Lord for physical healing, but I think there's something more deeper, and that is wholeness. And so he says, do you want to be made whole? And what was the, firstly, why did the Lord ask him that? Who wouldn't want to be made whole? But maybe he didn't want to. Or maybe he earned his living from being a beggar, and at 38 years of age, he was in his senior years at those days. And maybe if he got healed, whole, he wouldn't have a profession. Or maybe, and this is what I think, I personally think the guy had given up hope. He had lost hope. Why do I say that? Because listen to his answer. He says, "Sir, there's no man to help me." No one was going to help this guy. If you were a sick guy and you saw the stirring and you thought, I could get healed today, would you help the other person? Of course you would. You're Christian.
Yeah.
We're jumping together.
That's right. You would say, "Oh yes, please, you go first." So he said, "Sir, there's no man to help me, and every time I do try to get in, someone jumps in ahead of me." So can you imagine, for 38 years, maybe once a week, maybe twice, maybe 10 times a week, we don't know how often, he's thinking, today's my lucky day. Here's the water being stirred up, I'm going to get healed.
Yeah, watching it.
And someone jumps in time and time. How disappointing. You know that proverb, hope deferred makes the heart sick? He'd probably lost all hope, thinking, I'm going to be like this for the rest of my life. And Jesus said, "Stand up, take up your mat, and walk." And the man was healed. Now that is an act of mercy. And it goes in with the name of this place, the pools of Beit Hesda or Bethesda, which means the house of mercy. Now I talked about the blind and the lame and the fact that the Son of David, only 2 miracles are mentioned in the Gospels. The healing of the blind, the healing of the lame. But there's another Old Testament story, and I'm suggesting without stretching that there's some connection here. Because in the Old Testament, there's another story of a man that was lame. Anyone know who I'm referring to? Except for Debbie? Who? Correct.
Good job,
Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth in Hebrew. And remember that story? When he was a little boy, the enemies came and the handmaiden ran and she tripped over and he became lame. All of his life he was lame. After David took up the throne to become king, he was sitting in his palace and he said, "What can I do to show mercy?" This is a story of mercy to a lame man. What can I do to show mercy to the house of Saul for the to the house of Saul for the sake of Jonathan? He wanted to honor his friendship with Jonathan. So what did they say? They said, "There's someone called Mephibosheth who is lame." The king's servant summoned Mephibosheth. Now just imagine, you're Mephibosheth. You're lame. Remember, probably, number one, remember David cursed the lame. Number two, Mephibosheth, I'm suggesting, may have thought,
Yeah.
David is out for my blood because of how my father treated him. He's going to avenge the way my father dealt with him. And so he gets brought to the king's palace,
Shaking like a leaf.
shaking like a leaf, an outcast, thinking, what is going on? I'm a dead man. And what happens instead? He says, "Mephibosheth, come and sit at my table, and up to half the kingdom is yours." And that is an act of mercy. And that is our David, our son of David. You know, in the Song of Solomon's where it says, "He brought me to the banqueting table, and his banner over me is love." This is a beautiful act of mercy. And because of his death, because he was the one who had God's wrath taken out on him, we have access to the Father by faith through his blood, And the scripture said we become co-heirs, heirs with God and co-heirs with his son. So think about that story as we're here at the pools of Bethesda. Any questions?
What was his name again? The son of Saul? Jonathan?
Yes. The son of Saul,
Yeah, it's
the,
Jonathan?
the brother of Jonathan, Mephibosheth.
Wait a minute, hold on now. Saul's brother is Jonathan.
No, Saul's son
Is Jonathan.
is Jonathan,
Okay, and then
And he had another son, Mephibosheth.
called Mephibosheth.
Okay.
I can help you with it.
Okay.
He was
all
lame.
And he's the one that extended all his grace
David extended his grace
David,
to Mephibosheth.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
To his
Now, what did he do to deserve it? Quite the opposite. He was an outcast, and his father was a ratbag. Do you know that phrase?
No.
Oh, that's where I come from. Yeah. He was a bad apple,
Scumbag.
scumbag. And
factory rat.
so this is what mercy is. You know what it says? While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. How much more shall we be saved through his grace? Okay, so let's meet back at the